Hello, I'm Kathy from Kathy Raven Counselling. This video is for you if either you're thinking about booking an online appointment with me, or we've already got one booked in and you just want to know a little bit more about how that works. I've been using online appointments and working in an online way as a counsellor since 2020, which, as a lot of people did during that time, their work moved to an online way of working, just because it wasn't possible to see people in person. I think there are lots of benefits to working online. It does mean that you can be wherever you are, and I work with anybody within the UK, adults within the UK, and you don't have to travel to somewhere to do your counselling. You can do it from the comfort of your own home, which has huge benefits and can be more flexible in terms of time and that kind of thing. There are some things that are different about online counselling that we have to be aware of, and which I'm just going to kind of go through a little bit today. So first thing to say is about how I do this. So I use Zoom for my online counselling, the program called Zoom, and the reason that I use that particular program is just because it has a sort of a higher level of security than some of the other platforms out there that you can use for doing face-to-face interactions online. So things like Skype and FaceTime don't have that sort of extra level of security, and obviously for a counselling appointment, things like confidentiality and privacy are hugely important, and some things that I take incredibly seriously. It's just fundamental to the way the counselling relationship works that it is confidential and it is private, which is why I've chosen to use Zoom for it. What I've done is on my website, you can go and have a look on my website, and on the section where it talks about online and telephone counselling, I've just put a link to some more information about Zoom on there, just if you're interested and wanted to have a look. So coming back to the point about counselling being confidential and private, one of the things that I would say is it's really important to think about, if you've got an online appointment booked or if you want to book one in, it's really important to think about what space you have available for you where you can be during that appointment. It is important that that space is somewhere that is private, somewhere that you're not going to be disturbed for the full 50 minutes of that appointment. So nobody kind of wandering in and out of the room during that time. You're not going to get sort of phone calls coming in. You're not in a public place like a cafe or somewhere like that where people potentially could overhear. And I think if you're finding that it would be a struggle for you to find that kind of space, then I would suggest waiting until a time when you think you could find somewhere like that, somewhere that's just going to be completely private, just because it is so important to the counselling process that everything that is said is held confidentially and is not going to be overheard or disturbed in any way. So I think that's a really important point to make. And at the same time, I will guarantee that, from my end where I'm working from, it'll be a confidential space. I won't be interrupted during the 50 minutes of our appointment. I also think it's important to say that things like commitment and punctuality are just as important as they would be in any other kind of counselling or therapy session. So I just want to say a little bit about how Zoom works and how you would access that first appointment. For anybody who hasn't used it before, so quite a few people will be familiar with it, but if you're not, I'll just kind of take you through the steps. So what happens is that I will send you a link on email. It's just you'll get an email saying that Kathy is inviting you to a Zoom appointment, and that they'll have a link in it for you to click on. Now, what I would suggest you do is you click on that sometime before the appointment, just because if you haven't used Zoom before, then it will ask you to install an interface just onto your computer. So it's just worth making sure that you've got that in place before the time of the appointment. Just so we're not losing time at the beginning of the appointment for all of that to get sorted. And then at the time of the appointment, what I can do from my end is that I will then admit you into the appointment. You'll be sort of held in a waiting area before that happens, and then we should see each other appear on the screens. what I've done is on my website, again, if you go to the section that's about online and telephone appointments, there's a link there to a video produced by Zoom all about how to access that Zoom meeting. So hopefully if you kind of don't take the information in from what I'm saying, you can go and have a look at that video, and that should just take you through those steps. It's really very straightforward. What I'll do then is I'll just make sure that we can see and hear each other clearly, and then we can carry on with the appointment. It's worth saying as well that it's a good idea at the beginning, certainly, to have the video on, to have the camera on as much as you possibly can. However, if there are times during an appointment when you would rather not have the camera on, then it is an option. And I know some people would feel more comfortable, and then really it becomes sort of a telephone appointment as much as anything else. But it might be that, for some people, it can be easier to talk about things if you've got that camera turned off. And I think it's probably something that I would talk about during the appointments anyway. But I think that's worth being aware of. So hopefully that's given some information about how online appointments work. If you've got one booked in, then I look forward to seeing you during your appointment. If you're thinking about booking one, or if you have any questions at all, then please just get in touch. My website is on the screen, and my contact details are all on that website. So if you want to get in touch, if you have any questions at all, then please do just let me know.